So first of all, if anyone is planning on attending the PASS Summit 2014, please do let us know. We'd love to see you there. If you are looking for, if you're still thinking of going and interested in getting a discount, please get in touch with us and we'll give you a code in order to get that. Take PASS Summit home with you, so if you are attending Summit, you can grab official merchandise from PASS. This is in response to people asking to buy some of the PASS branded items that we give away in speaker bags sometimes, or that we put in the delegate bags. People sometimes want more of them, so this time we've decided we'd respond to that community request and we'd offer some for sale. So there you are, there's the details, passboutique.com. So we have some virtual chapter meetings coming up. So we have Global Russian, and that is today, and it's on Windows Azure. I can't read the rest of it, I'm not going to pretend I know what that says, but I hope that that's quite a lively chapter, and if you are a Russian speaker or want to practice your Russian, that's a good way to join in. Now tomorrow we've got an extra special treat presented to us by the Excel BI VC. You may know Mr. Excel, MrExcel.com. That's Bill Gerlin, who's written something like 33 books in Excel and counting. So if you know or you're interested in Excel, I would definitely attend that session. As I say, Bill is a community legend and we're very, very delighted to have him joining us. We've also got the business analytics session straight after the Excel one on how to incorporate big data and analysis servers as cubes. And we've got Global Hebrew 2, and that's being presented by Pini on the Microsoft Azure SQL DB. And we're back for the Business Intelligence chapter on the 22nd of October, where we will be looking at data quality by Steve Simon. And finally, we've got Spanish on October the 29th. Again, I'm not going to pretend I can see what that is, but if you are a Spanish speaker, I want to listen to some Spanish. If you're learning, then that's an excellent way of doing it. So upcoming North America and international events. So we have got we've had a few interesting events in Europe. We've had SQL Saturday Holland and Athens, and I attended Charlotte's BI edition last year and it was a great event. And coming up in the US we've got Minnesota, Tampa and Salt Lake City, and worldwide we have got events in Riyadh, Porto, Sydney, Barcelona, Isa and Rio de Janeiro. I'm going to the Barcelona one and I spoke at SQL Saturday Holland, so I think it'll be some excellent sessions there. So volunteering with PASS. So now it's easier than ever to volunteer with PASS. So if you sign into PASS, then we can keep a note of your interest in volunteering, and that may extend to speaking or hosting a user group or even hosting a virtual chapter. So if you're interested, please do get in touch. So finally, we've got the PASS Volunteer Awards. Now, the highest PASS accolade is the Passion Award, which will be presented at SQL PASS Summit. And if you know of anybody who's been an outstanding volunteer, please, please, please nominate them. I nominated 2 people last month and they both won. So it's such a nice way to say thank you to somebody for all the work that they do. Oops. And that appears to have clicked through. Alright, so staying involved. So if you sign up at sqlpass.org, then you get a free membership and we will keep you up to date with all of our community occurrences. And what I will do now is I will pass you over to Johan. I'm going to make Johan the presenter, and I'll let Johan introduce himself, but I'm personally delighted Johan is presenting this session for us. I think it will be really interesting, and I've known Johan for some time over Twitter and at various SQL Saturday events, so I'm really happy he's decided to present this virtual chapter for us. So with that, I'm going to make Johan the presenter, and then we see Johan's screen. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Jen. Okay. Hello, people. This is, first of all, it's a follow-up on a presentation I had at SQL Saturday in Oslo in August. So, my name is Johan Ludvig. I'm a senior consultant at Capgemini in Norway. And currently I'm sitting out on a customer project which got me into some interesting challenges and leading up to this session today. Especially warning, be careful about being too big-mouthed on Twitter because it might end up forcing you to, or not forcing, but inviting you to have a whole session on SQL Server. Okay, the introduction out of the way. I was thinking of doing some short dashboard basics, visualization basics, and then on to specifications, charts, the data model, and a short tour into PowerPivot if we have the time for it. We do have a lot of tools within visualization and visual analysis tools. The main three contenders at the moment, according to Gartner, are these: Tableau, Qlik, and Microsoft PowerBI. You got SAS Visual Analytics coming up soon, if it's not already launched, and a couple of others running to catch up as well. All these tools are great. I'm not going to go into talk of which one is best because each one has advantages and disadvantages. Today, though, we're focusing on what's going to happen if you work at an organization that, for some reason, can't use any of these tools. Whether that be because there are economics involved, or there are policies that force you to wait upgrading, or the upgrade run has been postponed for some reason. So I'm trying to do a nice dashboard, or a cool dashboard in Excel 2010. And also I've tried to make it backwards compatible to 2007, and I'll talk about some tricks to make it work in Excel 2003 as well. And I'm using SQL Server 2008 in the background. Although my computer, consultancy computer, is running on SQL 2012 and Excel 2013, but this has all been developed in Excel 2010. So first on some dashboard basics. What is a dashboard? Well, one thing is that a dashboard is a visual display, so simple that even a CEO can understand them. But more to the point, Stephen Few has a very nice definition. A visual display of the most important information needed to achieve one or more objectives, which fits entirely on a single computer screen, so it can be monitored at a glance. Many people like to cram as much information as possible on a dashboard, and you had plenty of filtering to make users sort and what to see themselves. Be careful, because the dashboard is supposed to be at a glance. You really want to show the most important information so that a user can see and understand what it is within 5 seconds time frame. And make it fit on a single computer screen, because if you force people to start scrolling off the screen, you will get people losing focus. People will tend to forget what's the most important features, because that's the way short-term memory works. And also keep in mind that people are running on different computer screens, different resolutions. Developers normally tend to have the highest possible, whereas a CEO might be stuck on 1280 resolution sometimes. So have that in mind when you develop. Also, since we have limited space available on the screen, think carefully about how you present your data. Select your graph carefully. Select graphs that are give your users the most information quickest. And that's I'll try to pull through a couple of chart examples. One is a pie chart, which is very popular. It shows us each slice as a percentage of the whole, but at the same time they aren't really optimal, because humans aren't very good at comparing two-dimensional areas. And most pie charts tend to focus a lot on several aspects at once, and like the example on the screen here, you don't really see a lot. You have to read into it to get the information you need. Whereas bar charts present sums and comparisons well. And if you present it in the correct way, for instance, just type in a title that says this sums up a percentage of the whole, you will get the same functionality as you do with pie chart. So bar charts are the staple charts in a dashboard. They are easy to read, they are easy to understand, and presents information quickly. Then you have line charts. They present trends very well, for example, trending over time. And these are also excellent for what they do. Don't overuse them, but they can be very powerful. Other kinds of charts tend to be popular because they look flashy, but at the same time they distract. For instance, please don't do 3D charts. They are really distracting, and they can show you, or they can force your users to really look for the information that you wanted to present, because things are hidden. And the more flashy the chart is, the more distraction it will take from the user. Also, think of what kind of colors you use. This is one example I found where you really struggle to read what the legend says. And of course, there is also the fact that colors can distract from what you want to show them, and people, it's about 10% of the male population, I think, that are red, green, colorblind, which makes it sometimes pretty hard to get people to understand what you want to show them if they can't read the data properly. Think also carefully about where you place your data. On a normal computer screen, humans tend to focus on the center first, and depending on cultural background, if you're used to reading from right to left, you will start looking at the top right corner. But if you're normally used to read from left to right, which most Latin alphabets do, you focus on the left first. Then the top right, and then the bottom areas aren't that much in focus. A lot of dashboard software and a lot of best practices for dashboard software tends to recommend you to put a logo on the top left or top right, and you put a lot of filtering and dimension and slicers as well on the top. Don't waste your most important real estate space on that part. Put your most important information either in the top left or in the center, if you can, because we want the most important information to leap out of the screen towards the user. Yes. Okay. The customer I'm working for is called Avinor. They graciously allowed me to show their data, even though it's a test database. And Avinor is a Norwegian company. It's a civil authority, aviation authority in Norway. They run the majority of all Norwegian airports. They have two primary primary business areas, operation of the nationwide network of airports, and National Air Navigation Service for civilian and military aviation. They are currently making a new risk management system, and my part of the project has been to assist in integrating this new data source with the corporate data warehouse, and to create dashboard and anything else that comes up in the process. This project has been running for about 9 months now, but I came in rather late in mid-June. And just a disclaimer, it's test data with a lot of nulls and test message sort of thing, so it's not a real description, or not a very good description that way. The real world, of course, you get a lot of strange specifications, and this was a specification I got for the dashboard. Doesn't really say anything, there was no text involved, so it's just a mock-up. So looking at it, we had this heat map here. Obviously they've been presented with some sort of a power map presentation, which isn't possible for Excel 2010. Then we have a heat map with some sort of top 10, it's only top 6 here. So that will have to be checked as well. Then you have 2 simple charts, one line chart and one bar chart. And that's pretty straightforward. And then we have a table with some KPIs and some colors. There's a lot of text here, and this doesn't really suit a dashboard well. It's too distracting. Green, red, yellow, very popular in risk analysis, not very good for a dashboard. I'm going to try to change some of these colors later on. So I had to go to talk to the business users and discuss with them exactly what they thought about or meant with the different parts of the description. It turns out they actually want a dashboard for 3 different levels of the organization, but today we're just focusing on the top level dashboard. The project had no focus on KPIs or what needed to make reporting work outside of this slide, so we had to, or I had to come up with a few suggestions, and we'll take it from there. It's also much easier to get proper results from users after they've seen a live demo of the data that they know. And then we can start developing on or build on what we've done once already. Okay. First of all, the data was put in an Oracle database. I pulled the data out into SQL Server, and I started scripting the main view and pulled the data into Excel. Let's see now if we can find the sample I put up. So yes, let's see if we can get proper showing on screen. Lots of data here. Most important is that we wanted to have a distinct count, which isn't something that Excel does very well, just out of the box. You could do a distinct count in the SQL Server, in the view there, but that means a lot of group by, and I'm lazy, so I don't want to do too much group by in the SQL Server if I don't have to. So what you can do is go to the Excel formulas. I'll put that up in English as well. array formula with the max countif, and then you loop through the same column twice to check if you can find more than one sample of your ID for this instance. And if you do get more than one, you put a 0 on the second occurrence and 1 if it's just one. And that works very well. It's we don't have a lot of double occurrence, but there are some. And then we could, if mind you, the maxif, the countif array formula is something that appeared in Excel 2007. If you're running on older versions, you will need to do a sum product formula instead. I can't remember what the exact formula there is, but it's available on the web somewhere. So that's a way to avoid that if you're running on older versions of Excel. Also, I need to get into some date ranges, and I need to have dimensional values into the view. If we put on the first of these tables, let's see it now, the category per quarter, the bar chart, we will do a small session here. We can start making a pivot table. And then we have the date created, we have the distance counts, and we have category somewhere there, just category. There we go. Since they wanted this on quarterly level, I can use group by on quarters, but I don't have a lot of values here. You see it's ranging from June to August, so I'll just do months instead. Be careful though to make sure that your date value is recognized by Excel as a date value, because if for some reason Excel thinks this is text or numbers, you will not get this grouping to work properly. I'll just turn off the sums, and then we can have this made into a graph. For instance, bar chart. There we go. We have a quick bar chart. And seeing as I'm not very fond of the way that Excel gets the filters in, I don't really want filters in, so I'll remove those, and I'll remove the heading as well, because I don't like how that's presented. And I also don't like lines here, so we'll just remove the lines. The less data pixels you have, the better it is, in my view. So that's it, pretty easy bar chart. So that's the original, and then I formatted it properly, and you get a pretty decent bar chart. Okay, the line chart is slightly more tricky. I haven't prepared the data for that one, so I'll just show you the PowerPoint instead. It has handling time and new risks over time, and filters by category. These are created on two different time values. So you have the create date, and then there is handling time. Sorry, it seems my network is acting up a bit. Let's see if it's better. Okay. So, I tried putting two different charts instead, because doing two different time frames in one line chart isn't really working very well. So what I did was I created one line chart for new cases, and then I took a date difference and created a new line chart where I removed all the axes, and I basically just had the line left. And here you got three different ones. You got number of cases, handling time, and the number of closed cases as well. Gives some more information. Again, it doesn't really show very well because it's over such a short period of time, and it's a test database. But what I did was making sure that the time frames were aligning properly, and the scale as well, so that they interact with each other, and I could put one on top of the other, and you get what seems to be three different informations in one single line chart. Okay, the geographical heat map, that's something that PowerMap does really well, and there are functionalities that makes you able to work around this by exploiting the Google Maps API and VBA. It lets you place cursors on the maps, and you can even use dynamic circles. But VBA isn't supported on SharePoint Excel services, and for this project it wasn't really feasible to put into all that work. But I found an excellent blog post showing how to do it, and you can also then use Microsoft Web Browser controller in Excel to make a sort of good geographical chart that hacks and looks some sort of PowerMap-ish. I put a link into the end of the presentation, and it will be uploaded later on to the PASS website, so you can download from there and take a look at it. But for this one I decided to use a pivot table instead. And I put organizational units on rows, and severity or risk factor on columns. And that's pretty easy to do, as well as then use conditional. Sorry about that, my internet connection is a bit flaky, it seems. As I said, I'm using organization units on rows and severity or risk factor on columns. And then I put in a count of risks on the different columns. And if I then make a conditional formatting, I can make it to look like a simple heat map. have and there you go. The formatting is just conditional formatting, and using a 3-color scale. We put in the percentiles, lowest range value and highest range value, and just change around all the colors. So you get the lowest value as green and the highest is red, for instance. You will get a decent heat map looking like this. And this shows information quickly to the user. When I show this to my user group, they loved it and they wanted actually to replace some of the other charts with another pivot table instead. The only disadvantage of the pivot table is that you are forced into Excel rows and columns formatting. So if you have a table on top and then you have a pivot table underneath, you will have to move up and fiddle about with to make it look presentable. Otherwise, and if you have 2 different pivot tables underneath each other, it might start looking a bit messy. But at least it gives, again, presentation of data to the user in the quickest possible manner in what is technically feasible. Of course, when I get the access to PowerMap, I will definitely redo this for a heat map because that's much cool. Okay, then we'll try to replace the wall of text. This is what I call a TMI, or too much information table. It had 3 different colors indicating risk factor, similar to what I made on the heat map, as well as arrows indicating a KPI for trend. That means if the risk in question had changed to a higher or lower risk factor since the last time it was updated, it should do arrows accordingly. As this trend hasn't been clearly defined yet, we need to implement change tracking on the individual risks in the fact table. This means potentially a lot of rows per risk, of course. So for the first version of the dashboard, and for the sake of this demo, I've skipped this and gone to find 2 values that I find give important information instead. So amount of cases that have been taken action on up until today per category, and amount of cases overdue, that is a date limit for when a risk mitigating action should have been implemented per geographical location. And both of these are straightforward horizontal bar charts. Horizontal because that means they take up the least amount of vertical screen space, which was what I was short of. So I won't go through these because they're pretty simple and easy to do. First of all, a top 10 list. These are okay to use when they show exactly what we need to know. And in this case, a list of top 10 risks sorted by risk factor is on the spot. A simple table like this isn't exactly sexy in visualization terms, but it does a trick through the titles here. And as you can see on the screen here, we have typical test data. Not very nice, but that's the way it goes. To get this table, we can do a pivot table and filter on top 10. However, the project stated in the interview that they also wanted a filter on a special field called top risk, which is what we have. Let's see. There's a filter going on over here. They have, again, they have 3 different ones. depending on which level of the database was supposed to work on. So what I did was just pull this one into a SQL Server view instead. It was pretty simple and easy to do. You could, of course, add another column and filter on that, but then you have to hide it in a pivot table, and that doesn't really look nice either. So it's much easier to just do this in SQL Server. Okay, then the last bit was the risk analysis heat map, which was this bit right here. I spent hours. This was actually what prompted me to do this session, because I spent hours looking for a solution on how to do this on the web without finding anything proper to do. I only found samples of how they looked from vendors of risk analysis software. Yeah, I might have overlooked something, of course, but half the fun of this job is solving challenges afterward, right? So the risk analysis software demanded the user, or it should force them to use two anyways, assign each risk a value of 1 to 5 on consequence and 1 to 5 on possibility, where 1 is the lowest and 5 is the highest. And this seems pretty standard in most risk analysis software that I've seen. So it's made it possible to map each risk on a 5 by 5 grid. In addition, the software assigns a value calculated as consequence times possibility, which is called a risk factor, that I've used earlier to create the pivots table heat map. Okay, first of all, I've used heat maps for different kinds of tables and graphs here, and I know that there are other ways of calling a heat map as well. A heat map is actually just a graphical representation of the data using colors to indicate levels of activity, usually using darker colors to indicate low activity and brighter colors to indicate high activity. So the first thing I did was create a view for the heat map just by selecting this in consequence, risk factor, and then number of risks. The original spec called for a map plotting every separate risk onto the grid. And this is okay if you show a top 10 or a top 5. But even there, you will run into problems with different risks having the same value, and then just putting on top of each other. Luckily, I found an add-on later on, a free add-on that you can use to map this. I'll show sample that one afterwards. But what I did first of all was change the heat map a bit. So it's I used a bubble chart on it instead. This is how the sample data looks from the view when it's imported into Excel. And then I created a small bubble chart. We'll just have to change it a bit around to work properly. That should look fine. Number of risks is the bubble size. and I'll have to format the axis where the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 5. But we want this to be on a grid. It's a bit messy here, so I'll just show you my plan B instead. This shows you the bubble size, and of course, since the bubble size in itself is just a two-dimensional area, so it's a bit hard to see and compare to the other ones. So I added a date label by right-clicking and adding date labels and setting bubble size as values, and then position them in the middle. Afterwards, I put in a small image which I had made to look like what they wanted on the screen. So a 5x5 grid of green, yellow, and orange and red. And if you are right-click on the graph, you can you can add image as a background, and then you will filter on just make sure that you position it properly in the background. There you go, format drawing area. And then you can choose a picture, which is the one you're seeing in the background. Seeing as this is rather bright as well, and I know Jen, for instance, gets a headache when she sees too many strong yellow and red colors together. I put in, I made the drawing area as well semi-transparent, so it's white, which reduces the colors a bit. I also put in, because I wanted the red, green, and yellow to look better, I redid this as, let's see if I can find the proper image. I looked up on the company website. They have most companies have their own color scheme that they want you to use. So of course that's what I took those out and redid the whole heat map. Let's see which one is which. There you go. You don't have to use red, green, and yellow, even though that's standard. You can use other kinds of colors as well that just match the intensity and the brightness of the colors. You will get the same message across, in my opinion at least. It's a bit off screen right now because of the size difference, but the end results looks like this. And choosing a bubble chart lets me display the amount of risks on each value. The same thing with the default colors in Excel. Choosing company colors will make you overwrite the default colors, and you get a nice overall look on, especially the marketing department will love you for this. finally, PowerPivot. Just one thing more. The double charge. If you try using this one in PowerView, you will run into some problems because PowerView has a demand on the axis that they want to aggregate all numbers. So you can't do the same kind of heat map in PowerView that you can do in Excel. That's something I discovered when we finally got access to PowerView in SharePoint here on site. Anyways, PowerPivot comes as a free add-in for Excel 2010. It's also integrated in 2013. And a short introduction for those who don't know much about it yet. It allows us to build an in-memory data model. It extends the amount of rows that Excel 2010 can hold from 1 million rows to almost unlimited. It's just depending on the amount of RAM you have on your computer. The new compression algorithm that they're using is really effective. It builds on what users already know in Excel, so pivot tables, slicers, etc. You can build a proper data model, so star schema or snowflake, as in combining data from different sources into one pivot table. It adds sharing functionality to Excel services in SharePoint, makes it easier to share dashboards and pivot tables with coworkers. It paves the way for SAS tabular mode in SIM 2012 and 14. So meaning you can create a model for your cube in PowerPivot and have it ready for use, and then just import it or backup or restore it into 2012. This also makes developing tabular cubes with users pretty fun, because most times in my experience when I start up Visual Studio, you see just blank look on users, they just shut down. That's geek stuff. But start using Excel instead, and they know Excel, they feel comfortable with it. So you can start pulling in lots of sources and build the model, and you're ready to go. It also taps into the power of DAX, so you get a lot more powerful functionality. DAX being the new BI language, if you want. And it's so closely related to the formulas that you already use in Excel that if you're not very familiar with MDX, but you're using Excel a lot, you will feel comfortable right away. Same thing if you're developing using other languages. You will feel it's easier to get into DAX, even though DAX will get rather complex quickly. It's got a lower entrance fee than if you try to use MDX instead. MDX is harder to learn to use right away. And when you use DAX, you can start using time calculations, you can have distinct counts there, as well as lots of other things, so it's very nice. PowerPivot also supports having inactive relationships in your data model. For instance, if you have several different time values or date values, you can still just have one active or one date dimension involved, which means less data into your model. And then you can use DAX to activate or force the calculation to use a different combination instead. So you just make sure that the main relation between your fact table and your dimension is active, and the other ones are marked as inactive, which is this one here. And then you can, in this formula, for instance, where you calculate distinct risks on when they were closed, you still use you will use one of the inactive relationships instead. DAX is of course lots more, and a topic for a range of different sessions, so I leave it here. But you can have a look at SQLCentral.com, and there's Theories to DAX for a nice introduction to it. And of course, Martin Russo and Alberto Ferrari has a lot of nice sessions on their website. So, that's about it for the session. Have you got any questions yet?
Hello there, I don't see any.
Okay. I think we can just wrap it up then. Okay, that seems to be about it then. Thank you for attending.